Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode. Shout out to everyone on all platforms for tuning in. I am yours truly, Culture Shock, and I can't be here alone. I got my guy with me, Landon. Landon, how we doing tonight? Happy Friday.
Yeah, man. Happy Friday. Another lovely end of the week. And everything's going pretty good. Pacers look like they're doing their thing, in the in-season tournament final. I don't know what you call the I mean, it's championship, maybe finals I don't know. But yeah, doing pretty good.
I like that. I like the whole idea of the end season tourney, even though this is Colts related, but this is for the Pacers. Shout out to the Pacers, man. They came a long way. I think the whole end tournament idea, just a quick thought, is a good idea in my opinion because around this time, if we didn't have it, this would be like the dead zone of basketball. So it keeps you interested, keeps you on your seat, keeps you motivated, and gives you that atmosphere of something to play for. So I do like that idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been really fun. I wish that the only thing that I would personally change about it would be like to have the semifinals, like have them like seeded and then have
Hmm.
like home games for the semi because the crowds at these things over the last like few games, especially like that Pacers crowd the other night was crazy. Like it was rocking in there. It was great. And then you kind of transition into like last night for both games at Vegas and it was just kind of like they were, everybody was just there,
Right.
but I think if you put the home fans in front of those crowds, man, like, yeah, that would have been awesome. So, but I agree with you. It's been fun.
Yeah, it
I'm
definitely has.
not even a big basketball guy, but
That
it's
was
got
another
me
thing I was
tuning in.
thinking about too.
It's got me tuning in, man. Like it's been fun to watch. So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But we appreciate you for finally tuning in back into basketball. But we got to talk about these Colts, man. The Colts are still on the win streak. It is a
how
positive day, positive week. This is a good thing looking forward as a Colts fan because if you would have asked us about the Colts a year ago, we all probably would have had the same answer going into the season. But the Colts has turned this season into something to watch. It's been enjoyable, even though we don't have our star quarterback in Anthony Richardson. But the Colts are still fun to watch. They have their ups and downs, but at the end of the day, they are winning games. And just to speak on winning games, last week they wound up going against Tennessee Titans, which happened to be a division rival, and they wind up winning that game. The Colts wind up winning and actually sweeping them in the season. Now, who would have thought that?
yay.
Most of us thought we was going to either split or go 0-1, 1-1, 0-2, something like that. But the Colts have did this, and they did this without their starting quarterback. So things are looking up in Indianapolis. But I want to get your quick thoughts on last week's performance before we hop into this week.
This was a game. Like I just couldn't stop thinking about this. This is a game that and I hate to be this cynical, I really do. This is a game that a Frank Reich coach team would have found a way to lose. And that's like been the biggest change to me with Shane Steichen is just like how prepared and how relentless this team is. Like they keep coming. Like no matter what, they could be down by 33 to nothing. And sorry to bring that up, but they could be down by that many points, and this team will not stop. Like they will keep going, and just to see them, fight back after that early deficit, which is what I said, like they didn't want to do, because then the Titans were going to be able to run the ball effectively. Will Levis was going to, be able to play keep away, like control and stuff like that, and really what you wanted to do was really kind of how the game morphed into in the second half. Is like you wanted Will Levis throwing the ball. That's the path to beat the Titans right now. You didn't want Derrick Henry to get loose, and they really limited him there at the end. After halftime because he had that big first half, and it was like, oh boy, here we go, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards. I mean, you're sitting there thinking, man, we miss Grover Stewart. And then just at halftime, man, the team just made the correct adjustments, and they really fought back. And Gardner Minshew, outside of a few plays, I thought he played really well in this game. Alec Pierce, how about AP, man? Like he's been open on these type of plays multiple games, now going through the season. I'm not even like the biggest Alec Pierce fan, but I mean, you could see the growth. He's not seeing the targets, but you can see the growth this year, which I think is like really what you wanted out of him. And just Michael Pittman Jr., man, continues like he's a wide receiver one. He's one of the best wide receivers, I think, moving forward in this league. And we're extremely lucky to have him, and hopefully he is locked up here this offseason. But yeah, man, like this whole team just fought, and that's what it's about whenever you're missing key players. I mean, I just want to give a shout out to this defensive line, bro. Like Quiddy Pay, Samson Ebukam,
I was
Taekwon
gonna
Lewis,
mention them too. I was definitely gonna mention
Taekwon.
them.
I mean, whew, man, these boys are on a tear right now, and especially those two guys there on the edge. So, man, it's been fun to watch for sure during the last month.
Absolutely, man. This has definitely, been a fun team to watch. Nobody thought this edge rush would be as good as we did. We knew they were going to be quicker than last year's edge rush, but this edge rush is very special, man. I think that we got one of the best edge rushes in the league, quietly. And a lot of people don't
Over the
talk about
last
it,
month
but
of the season, you have two edge rushers who are both in top five in pass rush win rate, which is like,
and that
I mean, that's a
and that's
that's
things
elite
you love
level
to
stuff.
see.
Yeah,
That's things
and
you
and
love to
really,
see.
like, that's what it was all about. We always knew, like, Quiddy Pay had the talent, Simpson Evacam obviously signing as a free agent. He was a talent, but you're kind of wondering how they're gonna fit and all this. And, they had the talent, it was really just about consistency. That's really was the next step, was you've seen the flashes from Quiddy Pay, you've seen the flashes from Dio, you've seen the flashes from Taekwon. You've seen the flashes, for all these guys, but there just hasn't been consistency with them. And now you're starting to see that consistency hit. And whenever they can play at that level on a consistent way, like they have in the last, 5 games or so, I mean, this is what you get. And you get some like really special moments, and you make it really hard for teams whenever you're playing them. I think that's really as great as the offense has been, as far as scoring. I believe somehow like they're eighth in scoring in the league, which is just absurd. But really, where you seem to see this team kind of take off is really coincides with that edge rush now taking off. And if they can keep that up, man, like this, I think I said it last week. This is a team that, like, if they get into the playoffs, man,
Mm-hmm.
even with Gardner Minshew, I do not want to play the Indianapolis Colts in the playoffs.
Yep, you definitely did say that last week, and I agree with you 100%, man. This team has been, is it just to go through all the obstacles they've been through this year, just to still be,
Crazy.
just to still be this good, and they did this without one of the best run stoppers, Grover Stewart. I mean, the fact that they did this without him, they did this without their star corner and Julius Brents. Like this team
Did it
has
without their
played through
starting quarterback.
without
They've,
Anthony
they've dealt
Richardson.
with injuries. JT now has missed,
Yep, even Moss
missing
missed some
Jonathan
games too.
Taylor.
He got
Yeah,
injured,
they didn't,
battling
and even Zach
injuries.
Moss, like they didn't run the ball well at all last week,
Hmm.
and they still found a way to, put up
And
30
should took the
points.
running game over.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what's so crazy about this season so far is like, I mean, if you would have told me, even with Anthony Richardson, I thought this was really going to be kind of an evaluation year before they really go
Hmm.
all in next season.
Yeah,
I didn't expect this. I mean, I think I had them winning 5 games this year, and there's been a lot of obstacles for Shane Steichen to go through. I mean, just even in the offseason, man, like the Jonathan Taylor drama, Isaiah Rodgers suspension, all the injuries with this rookie class. I mean, there's been tons of guys in even during the season now. The offensive line, I think the offensive line has played their starting lineup only like 2 full games, and the rest of the
hmm
time you've had, kind of patchwork between Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, all those guys missing time. And for them to for this team to really like come together and rally around this coaching staff and Shane Steichen, and even with all these obstacles, to be in the position they're in right now, and if they can get a win this week, I mean, they're making a push. Like this is a real thing. And yeah, it's super impressive. Like I think, I mean, it remains to be seen going forward because as we know, like football, things can change so quickly. But as of right now, man, like Shane Steichen is one of the best head coaches in football, and he deserves to be in the coach of the year conversation. And I really do feel like they hit a home run whenever he took the reins over this offseason.
I agree. I agree 100%, man. You're preaching right now, preaching because you're definitely taking everything in my brain. You're literally displaying it because Shane
Right.
Steichen is a mastermind. He is a mastermind, and it's amazing to see what he's doing with this roster and what he has. Just imagine what he do in the offseason when teams see that we're contending and want to come here. it's going to become a landing site for in free agency. We're going to get we're going to get these names like Sampson and players of that ability to fit into Shane Steichen's system. He can preach into these guys that hey, we can win here. He has that mindset, that mentality. So I know players are loving to see what they got from the Colts right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Just a few more names to shout out. Shout out to Ogletree. Shout out to Will Mallory. Shout out to Kenny Moore again. Jalen Jones. We got to shout out Jalen Jones. That dude's a dog. And shout out to Nick Cross. Am I right, Landon? Shout out to Nick Cross. He was out there replacing Rodney Thomas, and he was out there flying, man. It was a good thing to
Special
see.
teams, bro, too. Special
hmm
teams. I
Special
mean,
teams have been hitting, man, for 3 weeks, in my
well,
opinion.
yeah,
Three
well,
weeks.
well, like Nick Cross made I mean, that's a huge play. Like Nick
Yeah,
Cross and Tony Brown both. Like those are huge plays. Those are literally game-winning plays on the edge there. So as far as getting those block punts, and I mean, it takes all three phases to pull out victories in
that's
this
right.
league, and it seems like they're like if one phase just kind of seems to falter a little bit, the other ones just pick it right up, and yeah, it's cool to watch.
It is, man. It's truly incredible. Let's go ahead and hop into this week. We did mention one name. We did mention both names already, but we got to get your thoughts on it. We mentioned how this team has been battling through obstacles and, playing without some of their key players. But, great news for Indy and Colts fans. Two of those players may be coming back this week. We know one's coming back for sure. Let's talk about him now. Grover Stewart, the run stopper, the machine. One of the best players on this Colts defense is returning this week. He already mentioned it on Instagram. How are you feeling right now knowing that Grover Stewart is coming back to this Colts defense that's been hitting on all cylinders?
Man, grateful because if there's one area of I guess criticism is over the last month as far as this defense goes, it's been the run game and their inability to stop the run and give up big plays on the ground and stuff like that. And now you're getting one of the best, if not the best, run stuffing defensive tackle back in that lineup, and he's just going to immediately make a massive change in the run game. He's going to command double teams, allow DeForest Buckner and these edge rushers who have just been dominating to now face more one-on-one matchups because I mean, you're not going to double team, or I mean, you're not going to single Grove. I mean, like you can, but at your own peril. So now it really allows this, rotation, especially there in the middle, to really kind of get its bearings. And now they're putting you because I believe they were in the lower half of the league over the last month as far as like third down, third and longs and stuff like that. Teams have really been able to capitalize on the early downs running the football and they've been able to get in, third and shorts and stuff. And that's not going to be the case anymore. So now you're allowing, third and long, you know, you're allowing these pass rushers now to pin their ears back and go eat, which is what they've been doing. And so if they can just continue that, yeah, this is a massive, massive get for the Colts. And I think especially this week as well, because we saw how great Joe Mixon looked, last week running the football. And, with them playing a backup, they're going to want to, really run the ball and kind of base their offense around that. So they couldn't have picked a better week for him to come back. And especially too, like the last point I'll make is like the good thing about him coming back is that it wasn't injury related. So he's not going to have to like go through the motions of getting back into the swing of things as far as injuries go and stuff like that. You're able to plug him in without any hesitation and let him go do big growth things.
Absolutely, man. I know he's gonna eat this week. It's gonna be a breath of fresh air just to see someone trying to run up the middle and knowing that big tower is just right there. You can't run through that wall. You can't run through them, and it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be like, yes, thank you for coming back, Grove. Thank you, Grove. But I'm gonna one up you here. I know we talked about Grover Stewart, but this next guy, is a name we've been wanting to see on the field for weeks because his presence was felt in his debut against the Baltimore Ravens. Julius Brents, if he can play this week, it's going to be a sight. And what better to go up against than Jake Browning? Julius Brents was amazing when he was on the field. And not only that, it's a beautiful thing to see him come back this week when last week, in my opinion, Dale Baker Jr. probably played one of his best games all year. To see him play like that last week, and then you got Jalen Jones, you got Kenny Moore, and then you're adding Brents, this CB room is definitely getting the upgrade that we need going into the end of this year if Brents could play. So it was a good sign to see him at practice. Let me get your thoughts on Brents and if he can play this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I love Juju, and I think in time he's going to be a great cornerback in this league. I don't necessarily think he's playing this week. I think they're gonna. I mean, hamstring issues just in general are. I mean, it's tough. It's almost like a season long battle. Even whenever they are fully healed, you're still waiting until the off season to get 100%. As far as that goes. So I expect them, especially with the way that Baker played last week. I expect them to kind of be a little more cautious with it and just give him an extra week. They want to see him at full strength before they just throw him out there, especially against this Bengals core. I mean, you're talking about probably the best wide receiver core. You know, I don't know if you would put them number one. I know a lot of people do. Some people, wouldn't. But I
The
mean,
Dolphins
there's
up there
no
too.
yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people kind of flip flop between them and the Dolphins, but there's no denying how talented this wide receiver room for the Bengals, really is. So I don't know if you would want to throw them to the wolves, still kind of trying to come back from that injury, which is kind of the opposite of what we were talking about with Grove. So I don't anticipate him playing this week. If he does, it would surprise me, but it'd be a good surprise. But if it was me, I would kind of just take it a little easy and let him get fully there in practice before I put him out there in a game.
100%, 100%. You mentioned the wide receivers for this room, but they don't have that guy in Joe Burrow. But Jake Browning did play really impressive last week. He played enough. He played good enough to get the dub, and that's pretty much what we want from Minshew. Just to play composure. Limit the turnovers, play some good dink and dunk football, and get us the dub. And he did that last week for the Bengals. And now we got to ask this Colts defense versus this Bengals offense. What are you expecting from this Colts defense this week to play against Cincinnati?
Well, it's going to be really up to the coverage in this. This like that's going to dictate everything because the way the Bengals played last week, they got the ball out quick. They didn't let the pass rush, and like we know the struggles that this Bengals offensive line has. So really, the game plan is going to revolve around getting the ball out of Jake Browning's hands quickly, getting it on the perimeter, and letting these wide receivers do their thing after the catch. So this is going to have to be a week that these DBs like they tackle and they you know you're going to have to deal with screens to Jamar Chase. I mean, they constantly fed him the ball in the screen game last week. Jake Browning's going to take some shots downfield, so you're going to have to stay disciplined as far as committing penalties and pass interference and stuff like that. But I think you know if they can kind of force him to hold on to the ball a little bit, and really kind of mix up coverages and make him try to like think, which is what young quarterbacks like that don't want to do, especially whenever they're kind of thrust into the role quickly. You don't want to think. You want to have them play fast, get the ball out quick, run screens, have the run game there. So, I think if they can kind of force him to drop back, read the defense, try to make a play on his own, I think they'll have success for sure.
Absolutely. And what better to have a guy like Kenny Moore on screenplays? He's pretty much good on those flats. So I'm pretty sure
Fantastic.
Kenny Moore is gonna be, locked in this week, looking out for those. But definitely, keeping Jake Browning on his toes and keeping him uneasy. Kind of like Will Levis in the second half. If, you put that pressure on him, forcing him to make some passes or to force to throw the ball out of bounds, I think the Colts will be in pretty good position to win this game. You know, EJ Speed's in the question to play this game. He's up in the air, but Zaire Franklin in this group, he's going to will his defense up to lock them in and try to get this dub because he knows how big this game is. Every game from here on out is very important for the Colts. They got a
Yeah,
60%
you
chance
even
to
have a
make the
shot at the
playoffs.
division. Yeah, I
Exactly,
mean,
exactly. The Jaguars, sadly just lost Trevor Lawrence. It was a pain to watch. We all seen that game, but I mean, to each his own. We wish a speedy recovery, but the light at the end of the tunnel is for the Colts to get in the playoffs. That's the big objective for each team. So,
yeah, and I think
that's
Lawrence is fine. I mean,
right.
I don't think they expect him to miss much time, if any. He's questionable this week. I don't necessarily see him playing this week, but I mean, if everything's as good as what they're saying, like he's probably going to play next week. So
Mhm.
you have a very small window there, that you can fight for this division, and if you can win out, from here on out, if you can take advantage really of like a favorable schedule that you have, um, I mean, yeah, you're putting yourself in the position for sure.
Absolutely, man. Indiana's just in a good spot in sports right now when it comes to football and basketball. Both teams are competing, and it's a good thing to see. So definitely looking
It's
forward to
great to be in
this week.
early December for both teams and not be focused on the draft.
Exactly. What a feeling, right? Who would have thought? Look at this.
Yeah, right.
So, we just mentioned Jake Browning and the Bengals offense. Now it's time to flip sides and talk about the Colts offense going up against this Bengals defense. Now, we know the Bengals defense, when it comes to passing, is one of the worst in the NFL, if you guys haven't noticed. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Gardner Minshew and this offense is going to work. And Shane Steichen's been on the tear right now. He's got one of the best offenses in the NFL, in my opinion. It's underrated. He's a mastermind, especially what he did last week to get those first downs. He's just a mastermind. Shane Steichen will forever be praised on my timeline when it comes to me or someone else. I'm pretty sure from Landon as well because he mentioned it. I don't want to pull it up, but you just follow him so you'll see it. But let me get your thoughts on the Colts offense against this Bengals defense.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's a similar game plan to what they had last week with Tennessee, where you're kind of hoping that the run game picks up a little bit from where it was, but as far as what you need to attack, I think it's really similar. I think Alec Pierce once again. I think if you can attack them on the boundaries, and Michael Pittman can create, um, Josh Downs now an extra week. I don't believe he was really. I don't know. Was he on the injury report at all? I don't remember seeing him on the injury report.
No, I
Um,
didn't see him on there. I think he's
yeah,
playing.
so I mean, I think he's fully back from the knee issue he had. So um, for me, it's really going to be about attacking the boundaries in this game and really kind of isolating Josh Downs on linebacker and having him go to work over in the middle of the field. But I expect if Gardner Minshew, if the offensive line can hold up, because they do have some talented edge rushers there. But if the tackles can hold up, especially without Braden Smith, if they can hold up and give Gardner Minshew time, and he can play with a little more consistency with his footwork and stuff like that, I think Alec Pierce can have another big game in this. He can have a huge impact, and that's really kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting them to come out and really throw the ball around quite a bit in this game.
I agree with you 100%. Like you did mention Braden Smith. The only players out this week is Taylor and Braden Smith. So expect Downs to play. But, I think they're starting to target Pierce a little bit more, which is a thing to see because you've seen even last week in the biggest play of the game, you just throw it up to Pierce. I'm pretty sure there's a 95% chance he's going to catch the football because that's all he
Yeah,
does. So
you just got to give him opportunities.
just give him opportunities. Big time player, man, for sure, and he's definitely underrated when it comes to those. But for sure this could be another game for Alec Pierce to come and step up, or he can take the pressure away from Josh Downs to get available because you can find Josh Downs in those quick passes any moment. You know how he plays, so this could be a big week for either or for sure. I do think this offense can definitely have a higher success rate in running this week. In my opinion, personally, of course, we're going to see them pass the ball a lot, but I think there's going to be a lot of Zach Moss explosions this week, in my opinion. So I do expect, Zach Moss to have one of those games to be like, run the dang ball. You know how the Coast Twitter is. But moving on from that, we're going to get two players we expect to have good games. We're going to have one from the offensive side and one from the defensive side. I know you did mention Alec Pierce, so he is off limits, unfortunately. So you got to give me someone else, one offense or one defense.
Well, that's fine. I mean, as far as offensive players, I know it's kind of like cheating. I know this isn't like as fun as what everybody's wanting, but I think Bernard Ryman. Um, I think Bernard Ryman, against a really talented edge rush there in Cincinnati, I think he's going to have a big game in this one. I think this offensive line, if they can stay healthy, and really that goes for the full offensive line, and Blake Freeland coming in there as well. I think he's had some really valuable snaps in this. So I think the offensive line as a whole, but specifically Bernard Ryman, I think. they're going to be in for a really good game this week. I think they've been really good pretty much all year. They didn't have a fantastic game against Tennessee. Like it wasn't like a great game, but it was good enough to win. So, but they had quite a few things I think they can clean up, and I think they do. And I think it's going to be um, in the run game and in the pass game. I think they're going to open up a lot for this offense this week against the Bengals.
Yeah, for sure. My offensive guy is going to be Will Mallory or Kylie Granson. I can't pick or choose, whichever one gets more reps. Um, I was watching Trey Burton against the Bengals a few years back when Trey Burton had that rushing touchdown, that passing touchdown with the GOAT Phillip Rivers at QB. But I do think one of them could have a nice game this week. So I'm gonna go with Granson. I did try to pick Mallory, but because Mallory's my guy, but I'm gonna go with Granson this week for
Your
the offensive
doppelganger.
explosion. Yeah, my doppelganger. Shout out to Twin and them. So I'm gonna go with Granson this week to have that explosion. Let me get your defensive guy.
I think Ebukam stays hot, man. Uh, I think he's going to have another game where I think he's going to have multiple sacks in this game. And they're really going to try to take advantage of this Bengals offensive line because it's not great. So if there's ever a week that I think, you know, if, like I said, the DBs can kind of, hold that coverage, not let those explosive plays happen, really tackle and kind of force them to hold on to the ball, I think this defensive line is going to eat this week. So yeah, I'm picking Samson Ebukam.
I'm gonna go with the dark horse. Let me get Kenny Moore. I know we just mentioned screenplays and everything. I know Kenny Moore is gonna he's gonna see red when he see Jake Browning out there in that field. So I want him to have one of those two pick sixes weeks, man. I need it again in my system because that had to be the best moment all year to watch a player on the Colts make history. And not only that, it beat Kenny Moore as well. So I'm looking for Kenny Moore to have a big week versus the Bengals. It's going to be exciting to see. JDW mentioned Julian Blackman. I would like him to have a good week as well. He's been balling, man. Julian Blackman's been balling all year for sure. Shout out to Julian Blackman. Now we hit the end segment of the show. 30-minute mark. Let me get your score predictions, or who do you think's going to win this game and the score.
Man, it's tough because the Bengals do have talent as far as especially in that wide receiver room, and I think they were a good running back. We'll see if Jake Browning can capture that magic again, but with the way this Colts team's playing right now, like it's going to be tough, and they're hard to pick against right now. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I'm going to take the Colts 27, the Bengals 17.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna pick the Colts too. I know in the past the Colts had players that weren't starters go off against them, especially at home. The Jets players of the world, Josh Johnson. But I do like the Colts odds right now, especially being at home. Even though they're road warriors, I do expect the Colts to have a nice game. So I'm gonna go with the Colts winning. I'm gonna go 30-13. I think Jake Brown is
Woo,
gonna.
it's a
Yeah,
blowout.
I think the Colts gonna put up a lot of points this week. That's just me hoping, wishful thinking. But having Big Grove back is gonna be a tremendous uplift for this defense. So I do think the Colts can piggyback off of that and put up a lot of points. So I'm gonna go 30-13 Colts blowout. Hopefully they can win like that. It'll be a good week for all of us. Stress-free partying, celebrating, have a good night. So
Yeah, because
30-13 my Colts
I'm sick of
prediction.
this like cardiac Colts names where I'm like at the end of the game, one like I don't I, like I, just for my health, I think I need a good blowout game. So I don't know if
Exactly.
it's going to come this week or not, but I would appreciate it if it did.
I literally was screaming at my TV after the big play. I said, Gardner, just win the game. That's it. Just win the game. And, that's what he did. He wound up throwing the ball to Michael Pittman Jr. in overtime to win it. I was just like, oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I mean, whenever you scream at the TV, it tends to work. So that's what I'm going to do this week.
I'm just going to scream blowout. That's
Right at the kickoff, huh?
blow them out.
But yeah, that's all we got for you guys. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, live stream or via post stream. Give us your score predictions. If you haven't followed already, Hit the subscribe button. Follow us on social media on Twitter, X, all the good things. Turn on your notice when we go live. We're dropping a YouTube short just for comedy purposes. We should be back Sunday. I should be streaming the game with you guys watching and giving your reactions. But appreciate each and every one of you that tuned in. Appreciate everyone that responded in the comment section. That's Landon. This is Culture Shock. You guys enjoy your weekend. We shall see you Sunday. And we are out.